Hello and welcome to the Trailblazer Athletic Recap Show. I'm your host, Dan Wohler, and with me today on the show I have Assistant Athletic Director Jeff Polari. So Jeff, I want to thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so the men's soccer team just played a game yesterday, Coach, and that was a tough loss. Want to talk about that game?
Yeah, they've had a couple of heartbreakers in a row. They lost
Right.
a real tough one, Worcester State in conference, had an early 2-goal lead, kind of the polar opposite of yesterday. Yesterday they fell behind
Right.
2-0. But both games just a tough way to come out at the end. On a bright spot, we're starting to score some goals, which has been a challenge early on in the year. So hopefully they got enough conference games left to really turn it around.
Sure, and then the women's soccer program, we know that they've been struggling a little bit. So I want to talk about the past few games they've had.
Yeah, you know, a tough defeat. The schedule hasn't done the women's soccer program any justice. They've played a lot of the heavyweights in the league here early on. You know, the early part of the game on Saturday, they were controlling some play against Worcester State and had some opportunities. They made some adjustments, trying to move some of their players up front. Alexi Anderson got moved up, Marissa Sprague got moved up, and generated some opportunities. You know, but ultimately, as with any sporting event, it's tough to win when we don't score,
Right.
and that's been our challenge throughout.
Right, and then speaking of scoring, the women's volleyball team just off to a very hot start this season, and then they lost a couple, but what are they looking towards?
Yeah, the volleyball program's in a great position. You know, right now they're currently, tied for the program record for victories in the season at 15. Again, they're standing at 2-0 in the conference. They've got the bulk of their conference slate really coming, beginning with a really important match tonight down at Framingham, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But they've brought in Allison Clark has made a monstrous splash. She's leading the team on offense,
Right.
and they've gotten a lot of productive play from a lot of their veterans that are back. And so, the future is bright for them, and the schedule, like I said, will dictate where they go here over the next 2.5 weeks.
And then for women's tennis, what's up with the women's tennis team?
So the tennis team has wrapped up their season. They wrapped up at 6-7. They finished with a match at Anna Maria last week. They did just have the All NAC North Atlantic Conference Awards come out last week. We were fortunate to have two Trailblazers, Emily Diazzo, Marisa Svakanaki, both make the team as singles players. Diazzo was a first-team selection. Marisa was a second. And then the duo paired up and was a first-team doubles selection. So kind of the double whammy, so to speak, with both of them. And both are sophomores. So again, the future is very, very bright for them. I know they were probably a little disappointed in the finish to their season, but certainly a lot to look forward to.
Great, and then some all-conference players for the for the Trailblazers and the MASCAC.
The NAC actually has come out with all-conference. Golf was awarded today. Nick Young, second-team all-conference selection based off of his finish over the NAC championships last week. Finished 9th. It's his second year in a row. He was the reigning NAC Rookie of the Year last year as a freshman. So again, another nice performance from Nick. Earlier this year, Nick won the Trailblazer Invitational held down at Berkshire Hills. So he's had another productive year and continues to improve his game.
Right, and what does next week look like for the Trailblazers?
Very important week for all the programs, most notably volleyball starting tonight. Huge match. Framingham's unbeaten in league play. I think Framingham's 3-0. We are 2-0. Framingham's the reigning conference champion. We are heading down there on the road for a very, very important matchup. Men's and women's soccer also with really key matchups. Women's soccer has a non-league match tomorrow with Nichols at Shoecraft Field at 4 o'clock. And then they travel on Saturday to Mass Maritime Academy for a 4 p.m. tilt. The men's soccer program will host Mass Maritime Saturday, 1 o'clock, Shoecraft Field. Exceptionally important game. Both sides are kind of scuffling a little bit.
Right.
Both sides really need a victory.
MASCAC victory.
MASCAC victory. 3 games left in the league. We really got to get some results here going in the near future.
Right, and talk about that MASCAC matchup between Allison Clark on the volleyball team and Radcliffe.
Yeah, probably the two most dynamic offensive players in the league going head-to-head tonight. Radcliffe is a junior, one of the top players. She's been the player of the week numerous times. Clark is right behind her on the offensive side. So it really should be a really dynamic matchup. My guess tonight is, whoever has a little bit of a better hitting percentage and doesn't kill themselves with some errors will be in a much better position. But it should be a great matchup. It's going to be available via webcast as well through our website, so our fans can certainly check that out tonight.
Right, and next weekend, Family and Alumni Weekend. What's going on during that weekend?
All kinds of great events going on via athletics. We have baseball and softball alumni games scheduled for Saturday at 11 a.m. At the Zaravatero Complex. You have the men's soccer team hosting Mass Maritime, as I already mentioned, which should be a tremendous atmosphere up there. And then it really culminates with the MCLA Athletic Hall of Fame later on that night, 6 o'clock at the Holiday Inn. The 1987 baseball team will be enshrined into the Hall of Fame. That team had a fantastic run. They finished 25-10. Off of that roster, throughout the course of their careers, had 6 all-region players. 6 players signed professionally. They rebounded from an 0-5 start, which was all against Division I opponents. So it should be a really great atmosphere and a great time to recognize those folks and alumni that are coming back. We should have a great turnout.
Right, and thank you, Jeff. And folks, remember that you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and like us on Facebook. And for myself and Jeff, I'd just like to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.